This is Duke University.
This is called Let Us Gather in a Flourishing Way, and it comes from this book here that didn't have a title. I didn't believe in titles. It had a poem. It doesn't have any page numbers. I didn't believe in page numbers. I didn't think those things were important for poetry. You know, poetry is poetry. And sometimes you can have a title, but the numbers in there get a little iffy, except for librarians. Let us gather in a flourishing way, with sun, loose grains, with sunlight, grains abriendo los cantos, opening the songs, que cargamos cada día, that we open every day, en el young pasto, nuestro cuerpo, on the young grass blades, our bodies, para regalar, to give, y dar, to offer, feliz perlas, pearls, of corn-flowing árboles de vida, of corn-flowing trees of life. Let us gather in a flourishing way, contentos, filled with happiness, llenos de fuerza and strength, to vida, for life, giving nacimientos, giving a new time, a new moment, a new birth, to fragrant ríos, to new rivers, dulces, sweet, frescos and fresh, and verdes and green and turquoise, strong, carne de nuestras hijas, flesh of our daughters, de nuestros hijos, of our sons, rainbows. Let us gather in a flourishing way, en la luz, in the light, en la carne, in the flesh of our heart, to toil, tranquilos in fields of blossom, at peace in those fields of blossom. Juntos to stretch los brazos, together to open our arms, our embrace. En la mañana, tranquilos, in the morning, at peace with the rain. Temprana estrella on our forehead, early morning daybreak star on our forehead. Cielo de calor, heavens of heat, cielo de mucha sabiduría, of wisdom, to meet us where we toil, siempre. Always in the garden of our struggle and joy. Let us offer our hearts a saludar, to greet our águila rising freedom, our eagle rising freedom, a celebrar, to celebrate, woven brazos, embraces, arms, branches, ramas, piedras, stones, plumas, feathers piercing, bursting, figs and aguacates ripe, mariposa, butterfly fields, and mares claros and oceans, clear oceans of our face to breathe, todos, all of us, en el camino, on this path, blessing, seeds to give, to grow the sacred city of sacred corn, maizlán en las manos, in the hands, de nuestro amor, of our love. Let's go to this project, Senegal Taxi. Let us go a little bit to Africa. Let us reconsider our relationships, and most of all, let us find our humanity. I wrote this in the voices of people, of children, of friends, of an ant, of a fly, of a Kalashnikov, of a wild reporter called Bart Crimson. I thought you would enjoy his name. I had to throw a reporter into this book. An anchor, and also in the words of a Janjaweed, a paramilitary killer. Otherwise, I felt I would not have, for me, the book I wanted that would have many angles and lenses. And they're not poems in this book, they are mud drawings. because they're the work of Ibrahim, who is running with his brother Abdullah and his little sister Sahel, running from the massacred village in Darfur, and hopefully arriving at Senegal in some magical way, because it's beyond impossible, and then perhaps to the Canary Islands, and then perhaps to Spain, and just maybe all the way to the United States. So when I became aware of that journey of the people of Darfur, of Senegal also, of Sudan, and migrating and running towards fullness and their freedom, I reflected on the migrant experience, our migrant experience here in the United States. And it was almost incredible to see this. Mud drawing number 1, the village ant. Wake up, 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 wake up. Mud drawing number 2, the Antonov Russian bomb. Here I go, down below. Here I go, down below. Who sent me? I don't know. Here I go. I had to find a way to give those items a voice, and the people, as best as I could, my voice, because I could never replicate their voices, but as close as I could come. Mud drawing number 3, the Kalashnikov AK-47. Came down the mountain, saw them grazing cows by the mud wall, noticed my father Antonov burning off their clothes. Came down the mountain and stumbled on the gravestones of Shugakaro, where the grandmothers lay. Before my father met them out in the open, the women dragged their children into a cave. I do not know why the others were hiding in a circle around the split tree of the village. Came down the mountain as the sun broke. Mud drawing number 4, Sahel, the village girl. Wait for me, Abdullah. I'm kneeling down, lifting a school with leaves. Raise the classroom with sticks, clean the chalkboard with wind, set the table with mud, write these letters with my forehead, learn all there is to know in the world. The village fly. Janjaweed, batter down, batter down. They think they have struck gold. They pause and pretend to examine me. They are not the patient kind, I must say. They idle, their hands pulling their net bag steady, or their muddy sandals, or their calash in position. I know their game. They do not dare strike me. They will not risk having the calash break into 24 moving faces. The camel killer, the Janjaweed, prides himself on cleanliness, on order, if I may use that term, while I consider a pile of dung. But Janjaweed does not study that. That, comrade, is where I come in. Ayotzinapa, for the students, for Mexico, for the world. You know this story of our students, of our brothers and sisters in Mexico that were protesting for better funds and more resources in their teaching school in Ayotzinapa, outside of Iguala, in the state of Guerrero, in southern Mexico. And I was inspired to write this because I saw the face of a woman with the number 43 demonstrating on the main plaza of Mexico City. And when I saw how brave she was and how she stood up so tall and at night and with the other students of Mexico as a student, I said, well, I have to write something now. I have to write something. I mean, I was just thrown back and pulled in by her and her bravery and her action. From Ayotzinapa, we were headed toward Iguala to say to the mayor that we wanted funds for our rural school for teachers. There was a protest for our school. That is all, rural teachers, nothing more, nothing less. We were protesting for funds, that is all. We were surrounded by police and their cronies. They fired their guns, they burned us, they dismembered us in trash bags, they threw us into the river, yet we continue, yet we march from here, from the bowels of Mexico, this river that floods all the schools and all the universities and all the floors of the emperor's palaces. We continue at 24 years of age. We make way through the massacre here from where we were born and from where we died, toward all the cities in the world, toward all the students and teachers in the world, demonstrating on all the streets, sprung open, incandescent. No one knew it. No one saw it. We are leaving this number, 43, for you, because there were 43 of us. We are not disposable. Íbamos de Ayotzinapa hacia Iguala para decirle al alcalde que queríamos fondos para nuestra escuela rural, para maestros y maestras. Era una protesta por nuestra escuela que es solo para maestros y maestras rurales, nada más, nada menos. Protestábamos solo para obtener algunos fondos. Fuimos rodeados por la policía y sus cómplices. Nos dispararon, quemaron nuestros cuerpos, nos desmembraron y en bolsas de basura nos arrojaron al río. Pero aún seguimos marchando desde aquí, desde las entrañas de México, este río que inunda todos los salones, todas las universidades y todos los pisos de los palacios, de los emperadores. Aquí aún seguimos. A los 24 años de edad nos abrimos paso a través de la masacre. Aquí, desde donde nacimos, desde donde morimos, hacia todas las ciudades del mundo, hacia todos los estudiantes y maestras y maestros del mundo, protestando en todas las calles, súbitamente quebrando, incandescentes. Nadie supo, nadie lo vio. Aquí dejamos este número 43 para ti, porque éramos 43 nosotros. No somos desechables. You know, I used to be a fan of Ring magazine when I was in high school and in middle school, because my uncle would always tell my mom, Lucha, ¿me puedo llevar a Juanito al box? Can I take Juanito to boxing? Ándale, Fernando, Of course, take Juanito to boxing, because he needs to have some friends. Because we live downtown, and I'm an only child, and we're always moving as migrant farm workers. So my mom appreciated any invitation to take me out into society. So I became a big fan of Golden Gloves matches and Sweet Pea Johnson and Keith Irapuato and Keith Dynamite and Archie Moore. I got to see Archie Moore, and that was great. And Muhammad Ali. I didn't get to see him, but I met him later. So this is a poem called, and you're going to be part of this, by the way. There's some fine print on the program that says participation. And it's called You Can't Put Muhammad Ali in a Poem. I was thinking about that. You can't put him in a poem. You just can't do it, So let's do this. You ready? Y'all ready? Everybody's ready? Yeah. Okay, let's give it a go. You guys ready to give it a go? Yeah. You give it a go? You have to have a Muhammad Ali voice to say you're ready to give it a go.
Let's do
it. Okay, let's go with the title. You can't put Muhammad Ali in a poem. If you did, it would knock you down. Remember, listen. And if you were still standing, you would have to bust out. Remember the March on Washington? Bust out of your shaken, vaulted, poor thinking self. Oh yeah. And change. That's right. This big old world. Oh yeah. And if you did, you would have to battle with words and rhymes and body and time for your new idea. Did you hear that? You would have to endure. I hear you. And propose. What? A new name for all. A new name? It could be peace. It could be. Sounds easy. It could be unity. It sounds easy. But this poem cannot provide this or contain this word. Watch out. Here it comes. And it is going to sting like a bee. That was great. Let's give you guys a big mano one more time. That's great. That's great. Woo. What a great man, Muhammad Ali. What a great poet, great leader, great visionary, Muhammad Ali. For all the dead. And hear my streets with ragged beats, and the beats are to beat, to live. So the graves push out with hands that cannot touch the makers of light, and the sun flames down through the roofs and the roots that slide to one side, and the whistling fires of the cops and the shops do what they gotta do, and your body's on the fence, and your ID's in the air, and the shots get fired, and the gas in the face, and the tanks on your blood, and the innocence all around, and the spilling, and the grilling, and the grinning, and the game of race. No one wanted, and the same every day. So you fire and eat the smoke through your long bones and the short mace, and the day, this last sweet Swisher day that turns to love. And no one knows how it came, or what it is, or what it says, or what it was, or what for, or from what gate. Is it open? Is it locked? Can you pull it back to your life, filled with bitter juice and demon, angel eyes, even though you pray and pray? Mama says, you gotta sing, she says. You got wings, but from what skies, from where could they rise? What are the no things called love? How can its power be fixed or grasped so the beats keep on blowing, keep on flying, and the moon tracks your bed where you are alone, or maybe dead, and the truth carves you and calls you back, still alive. Cry the candles by the last 4 trees, still soaked in Michael Brown red, and Officer Lou red, and Officer Ramos red, and Eric Gardner, whose last words were not words, they were just breath, asking for breath. They were just burning like me, like we are all still burning. Can you hear me? Can you feel me swagging tall and driving low and talking fine and hollering from my corner crime and frying against the wall, almost living, almost dying, almost living, almost dying. And for those of you that like the R in, or that like the word rumba, I also have a poem for you. And for those of you that like chocolate, I also have a poem for you. And those of you that are key thinkers of the conceptualizations of the main concept within the orb of the Mobius strip of existence, I have a poem for you, because this poem investigates the possibility of midnight also having a mid. If there's a midnight, there has to be a mid of midnight. So that's for the existentialists. Conceptual. Picasso-esque, multi-dimensional collage, Mobius artists in the room. Here it is. Find your flavor, okay? Rumba and chocolate in the mid of midnight, and the turniping night under the earth that has gone blind. Embrace me on the table of the prayer woman in the anthill dish. Let us go to Carrara to sing to the count of sulfurs and ciphers and reefs, but nothing raining by the killing wall. By the killing wall and carriages of the skeleton carrier, raining light rain. Like this, I walk. Rumba y chocolate en la medianoche, y la noche rabanera bajo la tierra que está ciega. Abrázame en la mesa rezandera y el platillo de hormiguera. Vamos a Carrara a cantarle al conde de azufres y de cifras y arrecifes, pero nada lloviznando por el paredón, the killing wall, y carruajes de hueseras, lloviznando, lloviznando, raining light rain. Así ando, like this, I walk. So that's for you, Dadaists, which I love.
I'm Doran Mady Pinnell, and my grandfather was a very famous poet, Abu Ilia Mahdi, Lebanese, wrote with Kahil Gibran's Circle of Pens.
Oh, yes.
My question for you is, who is in your circle of pens, and would Pablo Neruda be one of them?
Oh, you all are in the circle of pens, my circle.
Thank you.
Pablo Neruda, definitely in early and late 70s. My friend Francisco X. Alarcón, who passed away early this year, a great poet, a gay poet. He was taking Latin American literature, so he knew that literature sideways, and he was always carrying the big books. And I go, what do you got there? Oh, Pablo Neruda. And what do you got there? Residencia en la Tierra, Residence on Earth. Oh, well, you know what? I want to borrow that book right now. And so I learned from all my friends. I'm like a hands-on poet. Till I was 40, I just learned by hanging out with my poetry friends, going to readings, hanging out in libraries, picking up pieces of paper, and going to rallies and listening to the poets that would stand up in front of the big audiences. I go, I don't know how they do it. That's incredible. Well, I wish I could do that. And they would say a phrase that really moved me. So then I would kind of attempt the same thing. So I did that for years. So Pablo Neruda was great. Cesar Vallejo is an association with those years of reading and being excited. Nicanor Parra, really hardcore, straight ahead, no fuzzy wuzzy poetry. Nicanor, if you want to have some ginger root while you're reading poetry, read Nicanor Parra. And then, of course, Gabriela Mistral and Sor Juan Inés de la Cruz, which was really tough to read. There's really some really intelligent pieces. You have to really break them down or just listen to them or just know the angle on which she wrote and where she wrote and how she wrote and who she was. So that was kind of the early group. And earlier than that were the French, once again, surrealists. I read a lot of Artaud, Antonin Artaud, who went to Mexico and got into ritual poetry and ceremonial ecstasy and kind of made his own language as he wrote. He created his own language as he was writing, kind of incantatory language. And his radical, resistant, wild self when he castigated the critics and put them to shame in letters. So I liked all that emotion. And then later on, things continue with a lot of great new poets. Yes.
When you write a poem in one language and then you write it again in a second language, it's not a translation, but is it the same poem or is it different because the languages are different?
It's like the sister across the street. It's a sister across, the wild sister. Right? When I love to write in English, and I love to really work the page a lot. It's one of my delicacies is to get the poem on the page and to make it move like electric molecules and push them around and create structures. I just love that, and lines and working within the lines and outside of the left margin and using unusual words, because I also love words. And when I was a kid, I used to want to speak like people, and my mother had the Reader's Digest, so there was a section called Word Power in it. So I would go to the Word Power. I go, okay, let's say Donnybrook. Okay, they had a Donnybrook at high school. All right, what else? Paroxysm. They had a Donnybrook, and then the teachers had a paroxysm. So that's what started to happen. But when I want to change gears and I kind of get a little too much into just writing in English, I go, I want to just move into this planet. And in Spanish, it's like walking into a whole new music hall. So I enjoy going into that music hall. And so you're right, it just turns into a different language, even though we would say it's a translation. It's more like Rothenberg would say, it's like a total translation where you really leave, you almost abandon the original, but you also don't, you know. All languages share many things, as well as actual language terms like algebra in Arabic and algebra in English, or chocolatl in Nahuatl, right? Nahuatlistic and chocolate in English. So, but it's a lot of fun. I've always loved language. Maybe it's because I kind of grew up as an only child and as a migrant moving around. So the only thing I could hang on to, the only kite I had was language, and it took me to the heavens and back to earth. It was a great experience. But translation is fun. I would talk to Stephen Kessler, a great translator of Latin American poets like Julio Cortázar, Fernando Alegría. And I said, well, how do you go about it? He says, I translate the rhythm. I go, what? I thought you were supposed to translate the words. Come on, Stephen, come on. Don't forget about the words. No, I translate the rhythms. I go, oh, the rhythms. Okay. So that kind of gives me freedom to translate, gives us freedom to translate rhythms, or maybe just the feeling of it all, like Rothenberg does. He'll get a Native American poem, right, from the great book in the late 60s that we had in Anthro, Technicians of the Sacred, where he takes world cultures and their poetry and translates, bravely translates them into English and uses ampersands and everything, jazz. I said, wait a minute, this is Navajo. What are you doing with ampersands in there? But Rothenberg believes in total translation, so he translates the feeling and the cosmic reach. He'll translate the cosmic reach more than the words themselves. So that's pretty cool about Rothenberg, way back in the late 60s. Yeah.
I just moved from Colombia to Durham just 4 months ago, and actually this is the first opportunity that I have to listen to somebody mixing the Spanish and English, so I just felt like home, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I was lucky enough to pick up a free newspaper, Hispanic newspaper, yesterday, and then that's how I knew that you were coming to town. So thank God, newspapers. And I have kind of a related question. When I read your poems, it's great. But when I just heard you, it was spectacular. I mean, it was awesome. It made a huge difference. Because just the way your words flow and how you switch from Spanish to English. So one of the things that I read from you is that you're working in multimedia. So I want to know more about that, because I think that your voice is not only about your words, but your whole being. So how are you mixing the multimedia with just exposing yourself and maybe building community in a different way?
That's a good question. It's a good thing. We all blend with everything. We all blend with everything. We all have dance traditions and music traditions, and art in our lives, in our own histories and stories and ways of telling stories, and environments that we enjoy, and we perform them. We perform them when we read them, whatever way we do it. So it's a natural to use media for us, and the great traditions we have in the United States of media. I love Jackson Pollock, for example. I just love that guy, and I love the muralists of Mexico, and I love Chinese Taoist art, or not. Maybe it's not called art. Maybe just called Taoism, in scrolls and paintings and calligraphy and sculpture. So all that for me is like human expression. So for me, I love to mix words with sculpture, collage, music, and dance and performance. I haven't done much of it recently, but Fresno State offered me a laureate lab. How about that? So I have a big old space and 2 grad students where we can just throw paints against the wall. It's a paintable wall, and I got old wooden choppy desk where you can, rip paper on top and pour gesso, and I got that. And very kind campus, provost and President Castro, Provost Selesny. So we're going to do more of that. I'm going to do more of that. But since I'm on the road, students have taken over. But multimedia is great. I just love it. I love all art, really. I would get stuck in an art gallery. You'd have to pull me out. When I'm in New York, all I do is walk around galleries. I'll write an entire book in a gallery, just responding to the poems, to the images. I just love all artists. We are all artists. And the most beautiful part, perhaps, of our lives is that openness and that creativity and that kindness. So multimedia, you may have a deeper question about multimedia, maybe about the internet and what's happening right now in multimedia. We can talk about it as we have pepperoni chocolate. Thanks, people. Thank you, everybody.